Hi folks, John with the Wingman 115 channel. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to be reviewing the Shrew Classic Hunter, so you're going to want to stick around. First, I want to give a shout out to Greg Richards over at 3D Archery, who sent me this beautiful shirt. This is his local club. It is the Tioga Bowman in Hyde Park, New York. Now, Greg runs the 3D Archery channel. Awesome channel. He travels all over the Northeast doing 3D shoots. Very engaging channel, great representative of trad archery. I will leave links in the video description below to his channel. Let's take a little ride down memory lane on how I came in possession of a Shrew Classic Hunter. I've been a fan of archery pretty much all my life. If you follow along on the channel, I have videos of a Browning Cobra recurve bow that my dad owned. I go through the whole story of my youth and that. Also did a video on a Bear Whitetail Hunter. It's a compound bow. I got it for my 15th birthday when I was a kid. Back then we shot traditional with compound bows. There wasn't a lot of tackle that you could put on a bow back then. And over the years I've been shooting that compound bow. And then my good friend Andy Tran over at Interbark Outdoors posted a video years back of him bow fishing on his property up there in Washington State. And that really excited me. I really liked that activity. So I started on this quest looking at bows, and I started out with a Samick Sage, and then I just fell in love with trad archery, got into longbows, got into hybrids, got into ILF, got into vintage bows. The list goes on and on. I've been in the market now for about a year, year and a half for a good quality heirloom bow. And I was really captivated by LaClair. LaClair is an icon in the traditional archery genre. Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, he's been a shooting champion up in Michigan and that area with longbows. He's a trick shot. He's been featured on television. He's a poet. The guy is just a renaissance man when it comes to archery. So when it came time to look for a bow that I would call an heirloom bow, of course I started looking at some of the classics, and LaClair and Shrew Bows was at the top of the list. So I started looking on their website because Shrew Bows had been recently merged with Henry Bodnik and Bodnik Bows. Now, if you're not familiar with Henry Bodnik, I have my own phrase for Henry Bodnik. He is the modern day Fred Bear of archery. This gentleman who owns Bodnik Bows, he had owned Bear Paw for a while, then sold it, is also a renaissance man. His passion for traditional archery is just top-notch, and it shows in his videos that he puts out on his channel, and I'll also leave a link to his channel down below. He's captivating, he's energizing, and he's just an awesome ambassador for the sport. So when I heard that Ron LaClair and Henry Bodnik had teamed up and Bodnik was going to start making the Shrew bows, I got really excited. Now that's not to take away from the Shrew bows that have been made over the years. There's been some really high quality bows by some awesome bowyers that have been made and that are out there in circulation. Just with having Henry Bodnik and Bodnik bows make them now, they're able to produce them at a rate, and the quality is still very high quality, to where now the masses can own one without a very long wait. So without further ado, this is the Classic Hunter. Now, when I was deciding to pick one out, they had a bunch of different color schemes and veneers that you could put on these bows. I really love the Cocobolo look. It's just beautiful. They also have one called a Siberian Tiger that is also just beautiful. So what we're going to do is cut away. We're going to do some action shots. I'm going to do a quick specs rundown, show you up close to the bow, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about it. My first Robin Hood on film. Let's check it out, because I haven't done Robin Hood in a long time. And yes, I do have a new core coming for my target. We just shoot a lot here in the backyard. Let's go down through some of the specs of the Classic Hunter by Shrew Bows. So let's take it from the top. Let's talk about the limbs. First off, these limbs are made from a veneer that Henry Bodnik calls a super flex bamboo veneer with bear paw power glass. Now, if you're not familiar with bear paw and with Bodnik bows, they come with a 30-year guarantee for workmanship. Henry Bodnik and the team over there have worked relentless to be able to have a level of quality that they know that if you use the product the way that it's supposed to be, if you don't misuse it, leave it in a car that's very hot, leave it standing in a corner, you know, things like that, common sense things, that these bows are basically heirloom bows that you're going to be able to pass on to the next generation of shooters. Now, the handle is a forward handle design, and the limbs have a deflex, reflex in them. And it makes for a very smooth shooting bow. Now, the limbs, in order to get them as precise as possible, they're cut on a CNC machine. The strings that they use on the Classic Hunter are also well thought out. Henry Bodnik is like the Tony Stark of the archery industry, the trad archery industry. And even the string is what they call a Bodnik whisper string. Now, here's a public service announcement. Folks are going to ask, can I use a fast flight string? You can, but it is highly recommended and encouraged that you pad the loops of the string when you do that. And that's straight from the manufacturer. So I would suggest that if you're going to spend the money on a bow like this, that you just buy the string that custom matches this bow. Buy a couple of them, you have them in your kit, and you're going to be set for a very long time. Now, one thing Ron LaClair prides himself on the design of the Classic Hunter is that the bow doesn't stack past 28 inches. Now, a lot of folks, especially on the smaller hybrid bows, would be concerned, especially if you have a draw length of 29, 30, 31. I've known people even up to 32 inches. They're just giants. And a lot of bows are just going to start stacking. I'm going to show you a chart specifically on the Classic Hunter and how consistent that is at those higher draw weights. And that's just a testament to just a great, well thought out, engineered design of this Classic Hunter. So you're probably asking yourself, John, what sort of genre would you use this bow for? Well, straight from Ron LaClair, this bow is designed as basically a short, compact hunting bow. You're in a ground blind, you're in a tree stand. Ron LaClair loves to whitetail deer hunt. And this bow is the perfect combination if you're living in areas that are really brushed in, if it's hard to get through certain pockets of land. Out here where I'm at, there's manzanita, there's chaparral, there's all sorts of just crazy things to snag your bow on. So a short, compact, hybrid longbow, for me, is a great combination for out here where I'm at, or even up in Michigan where Ron's at. Now, one of the biggest features on any bow is the handle. For me, if the grip doesn't feel right in your hand, you're just not going to be able to focus on the target and do what you need to do to be able to meet that objective. I must say that the grip on this Classic Hunter is just outstanding. Here, let's get it up close so you folks can see it. For me, I have a medium-sized hand. I'm a small guy. I'm 5'6". I only have a 26.5-inch draw. But my grip, I get to shoot a lot of bows. And the grip on this bow almost feels like a natural extension of my hand. Now, I'm not one of those guys that I gorilla grip my bow. When I shoot, I put the webbing of my hand right in the pocket of that handle, and then I just ever so lightly wrap my fingers around, just touching. I don't grip. Normally it's a middle finger or an index finger, and I'm just have enough grip on it to where when I release, I'm not going to drop the bow. The bow almost just feels like an extension to my hand. I'm going to shoot an arrow here real quick so you guys can see. Just beautiful feel. Also, the sight window. I cant my bow just a little bit the way I shoot. Everybody's going to shoot a little bit different. I've seen people shoot straight up and down Olympic style, but I like to cant my bow a couple degrees, and it just gives me a great sight picture. My hand in the grip feels natural right there the way that it is on this bow, and I get such a great release. There's no shock. It's just a pleasure to shoot this bow. Now for some final thoughts. You've heard me oogle over this bow now for 10 or 15 minutes, and it's obvious to tell that I am in love with this bow. This is not a sales pitch. I don't make any money off the sales of these Shrew bows. I don't care if you buy one or not. You folks are watching a review for my personal opinion on this item. I paid for it with my own money. They're not cheap. They're in the $750 range and above, depending on what you get. But I felt there was so much quality and value in this item, I didn't hesitate to pull the trigger. Now, when I ordered it, here's a really cool story I'll share with you. So I call Shrew Bows direct. And even though Custom King sells them, and I'll leave links in the video description below, I decided to go old school. So I called Shrew Bows direct, and Ron LaClair himself picked up the phone. And for me, Ron LaClair is right up there with Fred Bear, just a legend and a boyhood hero for me. And it was such a pleasure. I got to talk to Mr. LaClair for about a half hour, and he was so passionate about my shooting style, about what I was going to use the bow for, and he really took an interest and really had a desire to fit me with the right length bow. Now remember, they sell them in 52, 54, 56 inch. So he asked me questions about my draw, about how I shoot, things like that. We narrowed it down to a 54-inch bow, and it was here in no time. And I must say, I've been shooting this bow off and on for over a year. And this, every time I break this out, it just puts a smile on my face. And another side note, so since I have a short draw, 26.5 inch, and I dabble in gap shooting. So Shrew Bows has a Facebook page, like a enthusiast page, and I put on their recommendation for some ideas on arrows to use and the length of arrows. Just a basic setup that you would use with this, because I just wanted to pick a couple people's brain to kind of narrow it down. One, it's going to save me money, time, and effort in the quest to try to get good arrow flight and all that stuff. Well, Henry Bodnik himself responded, and he did the calculations and basically told me to go with a 500 spine, 28.5 inches, 200 grains up front, and I'll tell you, I took his advice, and I'm telling you, he's the Tony Stark of the archery industry. Just great arrow flight, just coming right out of the gate. This is what I love about Trad Archery. The owners of the company are responding to personal questions. Now, they're busy. I run a channel with 43,000 subs. I get a lot of messages every day. I can only imagine if you're running a company that does international sales. It's just insane. And they took the time out to talk to me. That, to me, means something today in the busy go, 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 and where you think businesses and corporations just want your money and don't care about you, let me tell you, LaClair and Henry Bodnik teaming up, it's just an outstanding pair. So I'll leave links in the video description below if you're interested in one of these bows. If you're looking to get something that you can shoot for years and pass on to a loved one, and with a 30-year guarantee that you know if something happens, you're covered, hey, I highly suggest a Shrew bow. Now, they make a couple different models, and there's, like everything, there's something that's going to fit your taste. So I highly encourage you to check them out. Folks, it's been a pleasure to do this video. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Now, I'm going to get out here and shoot some more. Take care. We'll see you.